Welcome to the Tell Us Ellis podcast.
It's time for another baseball team preview. Two teams again today. And this is a really exciting one because these are two teams who I think will be ultra competitive this year. And I'm really excited to talk about them. And we've had some good teams. We've had some really bad teams. But these are two teams that absolutely should be in playoff contention and maybe even World Series contention. So excited to get into it. If you have been watching these podcasts, whether it's on YouTube or listening on Apple or Spotify, please make sure you click the subscribe button. It'll help you. It'll come to your own feed. If you could click subscribe, that would be great. If you like the podcast, give it a thumbs up. That would be appreciated. Leave some comments. I always like to hear comments. And, if you don't like it, that's fine too. I'm okay with that. I do this out of pure enjoyment. So I appreciate any feedback and any thumbs ups or subscriptions. That would be great. I'm also on social media. If you'd like to follow me, I'm on X and on Instagram at TellUsEllisHQ. And then if you have any questions, comments, want to join the show, whatever it might be, just email me, jamie@tellusellis.com. So today we are going to start with the Chicago Cubs and finish with the Seattle Mariners, two very exciting teams. So let's go. All right, the Chicago Cubs, the lovable Cubbies. They have really gone through some ups and downs over the last couple of years. If you go back to 2021, they were 71-91. They finished in fourth place, 24 games back. Again, that was the post-COVID year. Not all the fans were in the seats to start the season. Kind of a weird season, but 71-91. 2022, the Cubs improved by 3 games, but were still below 500, 74-88. They were in third place, 19 games back. 2023 and 24, they finished each season 83-79. They missed the playoffs in each of those seasons. They finished in second place in each of those seasons. And then 2025 finally kind of broke through, won 92 games, 92-70, still second place, 5 games back. But they went to the playoffs. They won the National League Wild Card Series over the Padres 2-1, and then lost a really good National League Division Series to the Brewers 3-2. This is a team that was in first place from April 4th until July 21st. They kind of battled with the Brewers, but then fell back. But a very competitive team and a fun team to watch. Wrigleyville is always boasting really good attendance, not the largest venue of baseball stadium, but, going back to 2022, they drew 2.6 million fans. 23, they drew 2.78 million fans. 24, they drew 2.9 million fans. And then last year, they were over 3 million fans. So, and Wrigley is a destination. It's a legendary stadium. In fact, let's talk about it. Wrigley Field and the park factors. This one's a little all over the place. It really depends on how the wind's blowing in Chicago. How the offenses play in Wrigley, it's pretty average in April and then falls off in May. I think you get some of those cold winds off of the lake. So down 5% in May. By June and July, it's up 1%, relatively flat. And then in September, they're down 5%. So overall, the offense seems to play below average in Wrigley. And then again, you get some of those unbelievable windy games where the ball just flies out of the park. Manager for the Cubs is Craig Counsell. This will be his third year. He's 175 wins, 140 losses in 2 seasons. He's 4-4 in the postseason with the Cubs. He was a long time 9-season manager of Milwaukee. And when he went to Chicago, there were a lot of people in Milwaukee that were pretty upset by it. He was really good in Milwaukee, 707 wins, 625 losses. He was 7-12 in the postseason, but again, decided to leave there, go to the Cubs. He is perceived as a strong and savvy manager. He's got wide respect across the league. He's been Manager of the Year finalist several times. When the Cubs signed him, they made him the highest paid manager. He signed a 5-year contract. Again, he's in year 3 right now. He's known to be able to manage player egos a little bit. And, that's important when you've got a bunch of high ego baseball players. From a general manager and overall leadership standpoint, Jed Hoyer is the president of baseball operations. He started in Boston under Theo Epstein. He was assistant GM, briefly the co-general manager. He ended up the general manager in San Diego from 2009 to 2011. And then he was the general manager under Theo Epstein in 2011 in Chicago. He was part of that championship team in 2016, was promoted to the president of baseball operations in 2020, and very respected strategist, known for building systems. There's some perception that he lacks risk a little bit, that he's averse to risk, but overall, very well respected. Carter Hawkins is the general manager. He began in the Cleveland organization and rose through the scouting ranks. He's was the director of player development and then assistant general manager in Cleveland. He was hired as general manager of the Cubs in 2021 by Jed Hoyer. Very development oriented, very much prioritizes future competitiveness, not just the team on the field, but also future competitiveness. He's widely respected for his intelligence, humility, player development. But fans do want progress. They want to see progress, and started last year. So let's see if they can keep developing. From an ownership standpoint, the Ricketts family, led by Tom Ricketts, has owned the Cubs since 2009. They purchased 95% of the club from the Tribune Company. The Ricketts family owns the stadium as well. They got their money. Joe Ricketts was the founder of TD Ameritrade, and that's how they got a lot of their money. Obviously, under this ownership group, they won a world championship in 2016. Wrigley Field has undergone some renovations where they preserved kind of the nostalgia of old Wrigley, but also updated it, and has gone over really well. And again, they've kept the Cubs very competitive since their ownership reign. So let's talk about changes to the Cubs from last season. And it starts with a lot of losses. When you look at it, Kyle Tucker, 266 hitter, 22 home runs, 73 RBIs, 25 stolen bases, signed with the Dodgers in the offseason for really big money. That was a big loss for the Cubs, and something that we need to think about as they look at how are they going to replace some of these players. Also, on the hitting side, they lost Justin Turner. He's actually still a free agent, but had a down year, only 219, 3 homers, 18 RBIs. He's on the backside of his career. Willie Castro, utility player, signed with the Rockies in the offseason, 226 hitter last year, 11 home runs, 33 RBIs, 10 stolen bases. They lost Carlos Santana, who came over last year in a trade, 219, 11 home runs, 54 RBIs, and 7 stolen bases. And then they made a trade with the Mariners, the Marlins, we'll get into it. Owen Casey, who was a prospect for them, one of their top prospects, went over to the Marlins in that deal. A lot of upside there. Played very sparingly for the Cubs last year, just 192, 1 home run, and 4 RBIs. On the pitching side, there was a lot of change in their bullpen. So it starts with Andrew Kittredge, who in a trade went over to the Orioles. Kittredge 4-3 with a 3.40 ERA last year. Pitched 53 innings, struck out 64 batters, and a sub-1 whip. Brad Keller, relief pitcher, signed with the Phillies. Keller was really good, 4-2 with a 2.07 ERA, 68 games, 69 2/3 innings, struck out 75 batters. Again, a below-1 whip. Drew Pomerantz, really good, 2-2 with a 2.17 ERA, 57 games, 49 2/3 innings, 57 strikeouts, a 1.107 whip. Taylor Rogers signed with the Twins, 3-2 with a 3.38 ERA, 57 games, 50 2/3 innings. He struck out 53 batters. Did have an elevated whip of 1.38. Let's see. Ryan Brazier signed with the Rangers, 0-1 with a 4.50 ERA. And then we get into some starting pitching. Aaron Savali signed with the Athletics. Savali just 4-9 with a 4.85 ERA and 102 innings. And also starting pitcher Michael Soroka. You've heard me talk about him in Arizona, and I really like this guy. He was 3-8 with a 4.52 ERA last year. pitched in 22 games. He started 17 of them. 89 and 2/3 innings. He struck out 95 batters and pitched to a 1.13 whip. So, again, a lot of losses there for the Cubs, especially in the bullpen. A couple starting pitchers, but they were more in the back end of the rotation or swing guys. So let's talk about what they added then in the offseason. And the big hitting add was Alex Bregman. You lose Tucker, you bring in Bregman. I'm not saying it's a wash, but similar guys that get on base a lot. Bregman, 273, 18 home runs, 62 RBIs, and 822 OPS. So a nice add there. But then on the pitching side, I think they did some good things. From a starting standpoint, again, they traded Owen Casey to the Marlins, but picked up Edward Cabrera. Cabrera 8-7 last year with a 3.53 ERA, 137 and 2/3 innings. He struck out 150 batters, had a 1.23 WHIP. Again, that's for a team that was losing games. You come to the Cubs, who could be a 90-plus win team, should be a 90-plus win team, and you could see that. You could see his performance increase. I have him as a Cy Young candidate for this year. They also re-signed by accepting a qualifying offer for Shota Monaga. He accepted the qualifying offer. The Cubs made the qualifying offer. Monaga, 9-8 with a 3.73 ERA, 144 and 2/3 innings. Only struck out 117 batters, but sub-1 WHIP at 0.99. Now, what are they doing about their bullpen? So they signed Hunter Harvey, very big injury history, like littered throughout his career with injuries. Only pitched in 12 games last year, but pitched to a 0 ERA, was 1-0, 10 and 2/3 innings, struck out 11 batters, a 0.66 WHIP. With Harvey, if he stays on the field, he's going to be really good for you. Phil Matone, relief pitcher, another really good relief arm, 4-5 with a 2.79 ERA last year. 63 games, he pitched 61 in the third innings, struck out 81 hitters, a 1.06 WHIP, so he will help them significantly. Caleb Thielbar re-signed with them, which was good, 3-4 with a 2.64 ERA, 67 games, 58 innings, he strikes out 56 batters, a 0.88 WHIP. Shelby Miller signed with them on a 2-year deal. Now, Miller will miss the 2026 season, recovering from injury, but was really good last year, 4-3 with a 2.74 ERA, struck out 54 batters in 46 innings. Again, he's not going to come into play this year as he recovers from injury. Hobie Milner was signed, relief pitcher, 3-4 with a 3.84 ERA, 70 and a third innings, which is good. Strikes out 58 batters, a 1.27 WHIP. And then Jacob Webb, 5-4 with a 3 ERA, 55 games, 66 innings, 58 strikeouts, and a 1.03 WHIP. So they rebuilt their bullpen, added some starting pitching. Feels like they signed a bat that will do a nice job of replacing Kyle Tucker. And then they did sign Michael Conforto, just a 199 hitter last year, 12 home runs, 36 RBIs, veteran presence, 638 OPS. So a lot of change for the Cubs in the offseason. When you look at how they performed last year overall, from a hitting standpoint, they were 13th in average, 7th in OPS, not bad. Their starting pitching ERA was 8th overall. Their WHIP was 1st overall. So, and they added some starting pitching. Relief pitching, their bullpen ERA was 11th. Bullpen WHIP was 4th. So again, really good. And I don't talk about fielding enough, but overall, their defensive fielding was 2nd in all of baseball. Some good things there from the Cubs. Let's dig in a little bit more to their lineup and what that looks like. So Michael Busch has quietly become one of the best first basemen in baseball. Busch last year, 261 hitter, but with 34 home runs, an OPS of 860 plus, stole 4 bases, but Busch came over in a trade with the Dodgers in 2024. He was a first-round pick of the Dodgers and has just absolutely come into his own. So really good first baseman for the Cubs. Again, we talked about Alex Bregman. He'll play third base, 273, 18 home runs, a 820 plus OPS, so you really like that. Ian Happ is going to play left field. Happ, just a 243 hitter, but he does have power, 23 home runs. And another guy, 762 OPS, but will man left field. You have Seiya Suzuki, who batted 245 last year, but a lot of power, 32 home runs. Again, OPS at 800, so really, really good there. A wild card for this team is probably Pete Crow Armstrong. Pete Crow Armstrong will be 24 on opening day. Had an unbelievable start to the year last year and then cooled off significantly in the second half. Ended up batting 247, was a 30-30 guy, 31 home runs, 35 stolen bases. Now, he only got on base at a 287 clip, so that's something that they're going to have to improve upon with Crow Armstrong. But boy, he could be a huge piece of making them successful, but he has to be consistent, and hopefully more like the first half Pete Crow Armstrong than the second half of the year. At second base, you have Nico Horner, 297 hitter, gets on base at a 345 clip, 7 home runs, 29 stolen bases. I'd like to see him bat up in the order, maybe in the number 2 slot, but I'm not sure if that's where they'll have Bregman or not, but I'd rather see Nico at 2 and Bregman at 3 probably, just to get some of that on-base percentage up there. You have at shortstop, Dansby Swanson. Swanson, again, just a 244 hitter, 2020 guy, 24 home runs, 20 stolen bases, got on base at a 300 clip. This is another guy, he's more of a veteran now, 32 years old, but if he could up his average by 20 points, up his on-base percentage by 20 points, that could be really, really helpful to this Cubs team. Carson Kelly is slated to be their catcher. Kelly, 249 hitter, 17 home runs. There's a lot of power in this Cubs lineup. You can see that. That's why their OPS is probably up there. But Kelly will man the dish most days. And then there's a very good chance that 22-year-old Moises Ballesteros is going to be DHing most of the time. We'll talk about Ballesteros in more detail in our prospect rankings for the Cubs, but in very limited action last year, Ballesteros, 66 plate appearances, did bat 298 with 2 home runs and a 394 base percentage. So there's a lot of upside with his hitting and could contribute nicely to this Cubs offense. From a catching standpoint, Miguel Amaya will also catch 281 with 4 home runs last year, just 103 plate appearances. You have the youngster, 24-year-old Matt Shaw, who can play infield and outfield. Disappointing last year, 226, only got on base at a 295 clip, 13 home runs, 17 stolen bases. It's tough. He's going to have to get a chance to play every day to do a lot, but I just don't think he will in this Cubs lineup. So let's see what he can do. And then, 2 non-roster invitees could make the bench for the Cubs. I mentioned Conforto before, just 199 last year, 12 home runs, but can play the outfield. And then Chas McCormick is another non-roster invitee, only had 116 at-bats last year for Houston, batted 210, but he has a chance to make this team as a non-roster invitee in the outfield. So that's, from a hitting standpoint, a pretty good Cubs team. One of the reasons I really like them this year. But now let's turn to the starting pitching and let's look at what they have there. And at the top of that rotation, you have Matthew Boyd. Boyd, kind of a renaissance guy, 35 years old and had a really good year last year. 179 and 2/3 innings, just gave up 154 hits, struck out 154 batters, only walked 42. He pitched to a 3.21 ERA, and that was across 31 games. So you really like what they have there with Matthew at the top of that rotation. Now you plug Edward Cabrera into that number 2 spot. Again, 3.53 ERA, 137 and 2/3 innings, just 121 hits, strikes out more than a batter an inning. Again, he's just going to be my wild card for Cy Young winner in the National League next year. Cade Horton came in last year, 24-year-old. He was a first-round draft pick of the Cubs, number 7 overall. Started 22 games for the Cubs last year and was pretty dominant. 118 innings, just 95 hits, walked 33 batters, only struck out 97, but he's a youngster. That'll improve with time, and pitched to a 2.67 ERA. So you've got to love that from your number 3 starter. And again, another year of experience under his belt. You really like what they have with Horton at the number 3 starter spot. I'll put Shota Imanaga at number 4, 3.73 ERA last year, 144 and 2/3 innings, just 117 hits, 117 strikeouts, only walked 26 batters. So, again, Imanaga, they picked up his qualifying offer, or they gave him a qualifying offer. That's the second time I said that. He chose to accept it. He's going to be in that starting rotation, and you really like that. And then Jameson Taillon kind of had a bounce back year last year after a number of years where he struggled quite a bit, was really serviceable at the number 5 starter spot. 129 and 2/3 innings, just gave up 110 hits, only struck out 98. His big strikeout days are probably behind him, but pitched to a 3.68 ERA. And I really like that starting staff with Boyd 1 all the way through Taillon at number 5. Really, really strong rotation. Now to the bullpen. Again, this was a big strength for the Cubs last year. They were 11th in ERA, 4th in WHIP, but kind of had to remake that bullpen. And Daniel Palencia is gonna close for them. Palencia 22 saves last year, a 2.91 ERA, in 52 and 2/3 innings, gave up just 44 hits, struck out 61 batters. So he will be your closer. From a setup standpoint, again, Hunter Harvey will be a setup guy. If he is healthy, he has got to be healthy. Again, limited action last year, just 10 and 2/3 innings. If he can be healthy, he will be a very good setup guy. But the other setup guy is going to be Phil Matone. Phil, 2.79 ERA last year, just 42 hits and 61 in the 3rd innings, struck out 81 guys. Again, that is really strong closer and setup if everybody is healthy. Now, middle relief, you've got Caleb Fieldbar, 2.64 ERA, 58 innings, 38 hits, 56 strikeouts. You've got to like that. Jacob Webb, 3 ERA last year, 66 innings, 49 hits, and 58 strikeouts. A 3 ERA. I remember Jacob Webb from when he was an Oriole, but really good numbers for Webb. So far, middle relief looks pretty good. Then you have Hobie Milner in there, a 3.84 ERA, 70 to 3rd innings, 68 hits, 58 strikeouts. Javier Assad, who's been a swing guy, relief guy, starter. Last year, 37 innings. He battled injury a little bit. 37 innings, 33 hits, 23 strikeouts, but in middle relief, he could be really solid. 3.65 ERA last year. And then Colin Ray in long relief, likely. He did start some games last year. 159 in the 3rd innings, 155 hits, only 127 strikeouts, but a 3.95 ERA. I really like that from a long reliever. So again, top to bottom, starting lineup, starting pitching, bullpen. This is one of the more solid teams we've reviewed so far. And I really like this Cubs team. They do have a couple injuries. Again, I mentioned Shelby Miller. He will not pitch this year. And that stinks, but he will be a guy in their bullpen in 27. But Justin Steele is a big wild card here. He is likely to return from UCL surgery, elbow surgery. He is likely to return in May or June. And, Justin Steele was one of the best pitchers in baseball when he went down with injury. He was a 5th-round pick of the Cubs back in 2014. He will be 30 years old on opening day. But when you look at the starting staff and then that you have a guy like Justin Steele who's going to be back, and I'm sure he won't, he'll be watched. He'll be played very carefully. But I really like the fact that they have him coming back this year. So now let's look at the farm system. Are there other players that could contribute this year that really could help the Cubs maybe later this season? And the Cubs farm system ranking, if you look over the last several years, back in 21, they were pretty depleted. They ranked 22nd in baseball, according to Baseball America, worked their way up to 15th in 2022, 17th in 23, all the way to 4th in 24, graduated some players. They go to 15th in 25, And right now they sit around 22nd. And here's what I'll say. The Cubs, they've kind of had a top-heavy system the last couple of years. They had a number of top 100 prospects. Right now, they have a couple top 100 prospects, but then it gets really shallow beyond that. And there's not a lot of depth here. I'm only going to talk about two players, two top 100 players, and that's it. And we've already talked about one of them, and that's Moises Ballesteros. So I think Ballesteros has a really good shot of cracking this starting lineup for the Cubs for opening day. Ballesteros signed with the Cubs for $1.5 million in January 2021. He debuted in the Dominican Summer League in 21. He was stateside in 22. He split time between the Arizona Complex League and low A ball. He broke out in 2023. He hit 285, got on base at a 374 clip, 449 slugging percentage, hit 14 home runs across 3 levels. He was the Cubs minor league player of the year in 2023 and in 2024. In 24, he hit 289, got on base at a 354 clip, 471 slugging percentage, 19 home runs between double and triple A. Spent a majority of the 25 season with triple A, did make his major league debut in May and appeared in 20 games along with a couple of playoff games. So this guy's ready. There's no doubt about it. He's ready. He's one of the most advanced hitters in minor league baseball. He's a left-handed bat-first catcher. He's 22 years old, 5'7", 195 pounds, and there's definitely questions around his ability to stay behind the plate, and I'll talk about that in a second. His upside from a prospect standpoint is his bat-to-ball ability, no doubt about it. He's a true contact hitter. He's willing to expand the zone and be a little more aggressive at times, and uses all the fields to hit. He tries to hit the ball in the gap. That is his goal every time. His underlying power hints at, some potential there for more home runs. His 90th percentile exit velocity is 5.1, and his maximum exit velocity is 1.3. That ranks him in the top 10% of hitters his age. He rarely strikes out. He walks at an average rate, makes a lot of hard contact. 92 stolen base. Well, let me back up. Defense is where the struggles come in, and I mentioned that a second ago. Okay. As a defensive catcher, he allowed 92 stolen bases on 106 attempts. 92 stolen bases on 106 attempts. That means he only threw out 14 guys out of 106 attempts. That does not bode well for your catcher. I think it's more likely he's going to get action this year at DH. I don't know if he could play first base. Again, he's not going to play that now with Michael Busch there, but this is a guy who's going to hit the ball. He's going to hit for average. He could win batting titles down the road. They've got to figure out his defense. Is he a catcher? Is he a first baseman? Is he an everyday DH? But regardless, his grades out at a 60 hit grade, 55 power grade. Doesn't run that much, has a decent arm, but again, I would be shocked if he didn't break camp with the Cubs and be in the opening day lineup. There are and by the way, he ranks 36th overall in baseball from a prospect standpoint. The other prospect I want to talk about is right-hand pitcher Jackson Wiggins. Wiggins is a right-hand pitcher, 24 years old, 6'6", 225 pounds, second Cubs prospect overall, 78th in the top 100. So Wiggins struggled when he was at Arkansas for his first couple of years and then had Tommy John surgery prior to his junior year. The Cubs ended up drafting him in 2023 with the 68th overall pick. He signed for $1.4 million. Had a strong professional debut, climbed 3 levels to AAA in 2025. He kind of dominated everywhere he went. He did deal with arm fatigue during the middle of the season, and he missed last July and August, most of it. He did return late August. He's a big guy, 6'6", an athletic build, some of the highest upside among pitching prospects who have yet to debut in Major League Baseball. His injury history, his fatigue, that does lead to some risk that he could be better as a relief pitcher. But, when he is healthy, he's got an upper 90s fastball. It's one of the best by a pitching prospect in baseball. 96 to 98 miles an hour is where he sits. He'll hit 100 at times. His secondary pitches include a cut slider that's kind of upper 80s. He's got an upper 80s changeup that plays pretty well off that 98 mile an hour fastball. His curveball, he doesn't throw that much, but he sits in the low 80s, and he's got a kind of a heavy two-plane break with that curveball. So, again, he's got a checkered injury history that could limit him to a mid-rotation role, maybe bullpen. I think they're going to be careful with him this year. I'd love to say he could start some games for the Cubs, and that's a possibility, but they're going to be very careful with him. His fastball grades out at a 70, which is awesome. His slider grades out at a 60. Still has work to do on that curveball, but, overall, there's something to look forward to with Wiggins. And at 22 years old, again, they're not going to rush him, but he is a good arm in that system. From there are some players, shortstop Jefferson Rojas is the Cubs' third prospect. He's 20 years old. Ethan Conrad is an outfield prospect, 21 years old. They don't have a lot of guys. You have to go to really their sixth best prospect, Kevin Alcantara, who's an outfielder, 23 years old. And then Jonathan Long, their seventh best prospect, is a first baseman, 23 years old. Those guys, they're coming to an age where they should get a look at some point, but they're also not in that top 100 list. They're not considered a top MLB prospect. So again, that's where the Cubs farm system kind of thins out. They had no international top 50 signings this year. They spent their money. They had a little bit over $6 million of money to spend in this international class. They kind of spread that out amongst more mid-tier prospects. So, a little bit here, it's Cubs win now. And that's what they're going to try to do. I want to talk about some of the potential trade assets that they have if they fall out of contention. Now, I always do this for teams, even though like with the Cubs, I fully expect them to be a 90-plus win team, not to fall out of contention. But when I went through this list, and again, I focus heavily on guys that are on the last year of their deal, or maybe there's some options after this year. I focus on them because teams like acquiring those players with maybe 1 year of time left where they don't have to commit to a long-standing multi-year contract. When I look at this list, the Cubs do have a lot of guys late in their contract. So let me go through it. And again, I'll say that if they fall out of contention, these are tradable assets. But I'm reading this list more from just who the Cubs could be losing in the near future. So Shota Umanaga, talked about him, signed a qualifying offer this year for $22 million, which means he'll be a free agent in 27. Ian Happ has a $19 million contract for this year, and then he's a free agent in 27. That's a big name. Seiya Suzuki has a $19 million contract this year. He's a free agent in 27. Pretty big name for them. Taillon signed, a pretty big contract with them a couple years ago. He's owed $18 million this year, and then he's a free agent in 27. He's a guy that definitely, if he had a really good year, that's a guy that I could see teams being interested in. And for the Cubs, I think they're going to be happy moving on from a $18 million fifth starter who really hasn't panned out for them like they had hoped. Matthew Boyd, he's owed $17 million this year. There's a mutual option of $15 million in 2027. I would expect Boyd to opt out of that if he has another really good year. So the Cubs do have some risk of losing one of their top starting pitchers. Nico Horner is owed $12 million this year, and then he's a free agent. I'll get into some of the bullpen arms here. Colin Ray owed $5.5 million this year, and then has a $7.5 million club option for next year. Hunter Harvey's owed $5 million this year, and $8 million mutual option for next year. Caleb Thielbar, $4 million this year, $6 million mutual option for next year. Hobie Milner is owed $3.75 million this year, and then is a free agent next year. And then Jacob Webb is owed $1.5 million this year, has a $2.5 million club option for next year. So again, I went through that list and I'm like, wow, the Cubs could lose a lot of really decent players. And they don't have those bullpen or those minor league players to kind of replace them. So there's definitely some risk there. It is win now for the Cubs. Again, really like this team. When I look at my pyramid, honestly, I think they could be a second tier or third tier team in my pyramid. Definitely a playoff team for me, though. No doubt about it. That is the Chicago Cubs. So now let's move on to the Seattle Mariners. Okay, this is my second really fun team to review today. I love it when I get these fun teams, these really exciting teams. You know, I'm an Orioles fan. I'm a huge Orioles fan, but I'm a baseball fan too. And when I look at the teams that I reviewed so far, a couple stick out to me that I'm absolutely going to be following closely because I really like these teams. The Athletics are one. Really good, fun, young team. A lot of offense. I'm not going to say the Blue Jays. I can't say the Blue Jays. I hate the Blue Jays. They've got a good team, though, but I just fucking hate the Blue Jays. But they've got a good team. I think the Braves will be fun to watch this year. I really do. The Red Sox, again, if I wasn't an Oriole fan, I could see myself being a Red Sox fan. The Cubs are going to be a lot of fun to watch. And then this team, the Seattle Mariners. So let's get into the Mariners. Let's go back to 2021. This has been a really good team over the last 5 years. They were 90-72 in 21, second place, 5 games back, missed the playoffs, and that was really disappointing for them. 2022, they won the same 90 games, 90-72, again finished in second place, this time 16 games out of first, but they made the wild card, won the wild card 2-0 over Toronto, and then lost the American League Division Series 3-0 to Houston. Go to 2023, they won 88 games, 88-74, ended up in third place, but believe it or not, it was just 2 games back, missed the playoffs. 2024, they win 85 games, 85-77. They end up in second place, 3.5 games back, and missed the playoffs. And then last year felt like this was the Mariners team that we're starting to build to. They went 90-72 again. You know, this isn't approaching a 100-win team or anything like that, but they did win their division. They won the American League Division Series in a fantastic series, 3-2 over Detroit. Just awesome games. And then they lost the ALCS 4-3 to Toronto. Again, really good series. This team had a 10-7 game win streak in September to help them really win that division. They went through a stretch of winning 17 of 18 in September to lock up the division. And there was a lot of excitement in Seattle this year. If you look at their attendance, again, 2021, still COVID issues, fans not being able to come en masse to the stadium. They drew 1.2 million fans. 2022, they drew 2.3 million fans. 2023, 2.7 million fans. Fell back to 85 wins in 24 and dropped to 2.6 million fans. And then last year, they were actually at 2,538,000 fans. But that's where you want to be. Look, you want to be 2.5 million. You're drawing well and you're doing really well. So, and I would guess that attendance is going to be 2.6, maybe even 2.7 million. And what I expect to be a really fun year for Seattle this year. Dan Wilson is their manager. 2 seasons, he's 111 wins and 85 losses, 6-6 in the postseason. He was a really good defensive catcher for many years. I believe he played in Seattle, but I remember him, I believe, also in Minnesota. I'm going to do some research on that and let you know. From a managing standpoint, he took over for Scott Service in late 2024. He is seen as a very consistent, trustworthy, supportive manager. He lets his players play their game. He's steady and patient. Some criticized this hire because he had very limited managerial experience. But if last year is any indication, maybe he was the right hire. By the way, Wilson spent most of his career in Seattle. It was just 2 years in Cincinnati. I think he might have gone to the University of Minnesota. Yes, he did. That's where I was thinking. Minnesota. I thought he played for Minnesota, and I was right. It was just the college team. From a GM standpoint, their president of baseball operations is Jerry Dipoto. Dipoto's in charge of strategy, strategic roster construction, player development philosophy, trade, free agent philosophy. He's been with the Mariners since 2015. He was promoted to president of baseball operations in 2021. And in 2025, he was chosen by Baseball America as the executive of the year. Justin Hollander is their GM, and he leads the baseball operations under Dipoto. So he makes the operational decisions that translates Dipoto's vision into action. He joined the Mariners in 2016 as the director of baseball operations. He was promoted to assistant GM and then general manager and executive vice president in 2022. From an ownership standpoint, this team is owned by First Avenue Entertainment, whose control person is John Stanton. They own 90% of this team. Incidentally, Nintendo of America owns 10%. Over the years, other owners have included Ken Griffey Jr. and Microsoft exec Brad Smith. You know, these guys, they're willing to spend when they need to, but it is a development first mentality, I think, in Seattle, and then adding along the way with free agents, trades, etc. So yeah, pretty exciting. So let's take a look at changes with this team between this year and last year. There were some changes, some of them pretty significant. Let's talk about some of their losses first. Luke Jackson's a relief pitcher. He's still a free agent, 2-5 with a 4.06 ERA last year, 52 games, 51 innings, 38 strikeouts, a 135 whip. It's likely they're going to let Jackson sign somewhere else this offseason. I'm going to talk about some of the non-big splash losses. Okay. Harry Ford is a catcher. He was the 12th overall pick in 2021. He was traded to the Nationals, and in return, we'll talk about what the Mariners got in return in a second. Caleb Ferguson is a relief pitcher, signed with the Reds. Really good relief pitcher, 5-4 with a 3.58 ERA. 70 games, he pitched 65 and a third innings, 51 strikeouts, and a 116 whip. Gregory Santos signed with the Giants, 1-1 with a 5.14 ERA, only in 8 games. There was a 3-team trade with the Cardinals and Rays, and again, we'll talk about this. It actually brought Brendan Donovan over, but they had to give up 2 younger players. One was Ben Williamson, a third baseman, and again, this was a 3-team trade with the Cardinals and Rays. Williamson was the 57th overall pick in 2023. Limited action, batted .253, 1 home run, 21 RBIs, and 5 stolen bases last year. So he moves on. And then Jurangelo Kajinche was part of that 3-team trade. He's another minor league player, good asset that they traded away. Again, it brought over Brendan Donovan, and we'll get to that in a second. The 2 real big losses for this team, both through free agency. One was Jorge Polanco, second baseman. He signed with the Mets. Polanco, 265 last year, 26 home runs, 78 RBIs, 6 stolen bases, an 821 OPS. And, you know, he'll be missed at second base, as will this other guy. Huge loss. Third baseman, signed with the Reds, Eugenio Suarez. Suarez, just a 228 hitter, right? And that's hard. 228 hitter. It is hard to really buy into that in a starting lineup when he can just be a rally killer. But 49 home runs and 118 RBIs and an 824 OPS, that's going to be a big loss. You know, when you look at this team, they finished 20th in average last year, but 10th in OPS. A lot of that OPS, like just look at Eugenio Suarez. He batted .228, bringing that team average down, but an 824 OPS brings the team OPS up. And that's why that was a little imbalanced when I looked at that and how they played last year, average versus OPS wise. So, okay, that's who they lost. Who did they pick up? And I want to start with Brendan Donovan. I mentioned that 3-team trade. Look, Brendan Donovan could play a couple infield positions, 287 hitter, 10 home runs, 50 RBIs last year, 775 OPS. I like Brendan Donovan. He gets on base at a 353 clip, and I think that's going to be a good pickup for them So really like Brendan Donovan in this trade. A huge signing, and it was a re-signing for them. They needed to do this. Josh Naylor re-signed at first base. Naylor, 295 last year, 20 home runs, 92 RBIs, 30 stolen bases, and 815 OPS. They needed him, and he is going to sit in the heart of that lineup, and huge re-signing for the Mariners. I mentioned that trade with the Nationals. They picked up Jose Ferrer in that trade. They really want Jose Ferrer to be a big part of this bullpen. 4-4 with a 4.48 ERA last year. He did appear in 72 games, 76 in the third inning, 71 strikeouts, and a 1.27 whip. So I would expect him to be a big piece of this bullpen, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Rob Refsnyder, really good signing. Outfielder. I love this pickup. A bench guy, 269, 9 homers, 30 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, and 838 OPS. I really like Rob Refsnyder in this lineup or coming off the bench. Andrew Knizner, catcher, backup, 221, 1 home run, 5 RBIs last year. He only had 77 at bats, but a good backup catcher. They also re-signed Mitch Garver, 209, 9 homers, 30 RBIs, a 640 OPS. Not 100% certain those guys are both going to make this team. Probably not, because they do have a catcher by the name of Cal Raleigh, which we'll get into in a second. And then another player they picked up was a relief pitcher, Cooper Criswell, in a trade with the Mets. So again, a lot of changes, not in volume, but in the impact of some of these players. So, again, excited to dig into this team. I already mentioned how they are hitting wise. They finished 20th in average last year, 10th in OPS, and what may have caused that imbalance. I mentioned Suarez. Raleigh is another guy. He batted 247, bringing the team average down, but his OPS was, what was it? Over 900? Was it over 1,000? It was close to 1,000. So again, that's why that imbalance occurs. From a starting pitching standpoint, they were 13th in ERA, 4th in WHIP, and I'll tell you, I think there's some upside to this rotation this year. Relief pitching, they were 9th in ERA, 13th in WHIP. Again, those numbers point to a very good team. So let's get into their starting lineup. And again, I say starting lineup. I'm not saying this is how it will play out, but let's take a look at just who they have in each starting position. Brendan Donovan slated to play third base. Donovan's 29 years old. Again, last year, 287, 10 homers, got on base at a 353 clip. Not a speedster, doesn't steal a lot of bases, but he will get on base, which is good. He'll set the table for a guy like Cal Raleigh. Raleigh catching, again, 247 last year, but 60 home runs. 60 home runs. And I don't want to hear that this is performance-enhancing drugs. Look at this guy. He looks like a 70s player. He's got a little bit of a beer belly. I'm not making fun of him. He looks like he's got a little bit of a beer belly. It doesn't look like he's got a lot on his arms, but he can hit the long ball. So Cal Raleigh, I don't think he will replicate last year, but he doesn't have to replicate last year. Hit 40 home runs and you'll be happy. So Cal Raleigh, another guy that gets on base quite a bit too, 359. Then you get into Julio Rodriguez, a 30-30 guy. This guy, one of the top prospects in baseball for a long time. Now he's, it feels like he's been with the Mariners forever. He's 25 years old. He just turned 25 years old. Last year, 267, 32 home runs, 30 stolen bases. I think there's more for Julio to come. This could be an MVP season for Julio. I really believe that. So Julio Rodriguez, one of the best young players in baseball. Love that top three, right? Donovan, Raleigh, Rodriguez. Then now you re-sign Josh Naylor at cleanup. Josh Naylor, 295, 20 home runs, 30 stolen bases, gets on base at a 353 clip. I just love this lineup. This is really good. Randy Arozarena had an off year last year. He's a left fielder, only batted 238. That's what I mean by off year. He did hit 27 home runs and stole 31 bases. He could be a 30-30 guy. This guy can hit for average. There's more to what he can do. I'm excited to see what he does. I think he could break out even more this year. I'm pulling up his batting average. In Tampa, he batted 254 in 2023, 263 in 2022, 274 in 21, 281 in 2020. That batting average has come down quite a bit. Like 2024, he was only at 219. But then 2025, 238. Just think what could happen if he brings that batting average up. Even though it's 238 average, he does get on base a lot, 334. So I like Randy Arozarena. Dominic Canzone is probably going to get a chance to DH for this team quite a bit. He batted 300 last year with 11 home runs and 268 plate appearances. He gets on base at a 358 clip. 81 slugging percentage as well. So this guy, he's going to get a chance to play often and good left-handed bat. So see what happens with Canzone in this lineup. You've got J.P. Crawford, who's been a mainstay. He's 31 years old now, mainstay at shortstop. Batted 265 last year. Again, another on-base guy, gets on base at a 352 clip. 12 home runs, 8 stolen bases. Not flashy by any means, but is a shortstop that's very likely holding down the fort for a prospect that we'll talk about in just a little bit. Right fielder, you've got Victor Robles, and Robles was once a top prospect for the Nationals. He's 29 years old now, will be close to 29 on opening day. 114 plate appearances last year, just batted 245. He can steal bases. If there's a hole, it's probably right field right now. But, Robles probably slates to be that right fielder on opening day right now. And then you have second baseman, a guy that I think could be in this lineup to start the year, and that is Cole Young. Cole Young graduated from minor league baseball last year. He was a 21st overall pick by Seattle back in 2022. Only batted 211 last year, did get on base at a 302 clip, 4 home runs and very limited action. I think he's going to get a chance to play every day at second base. So that'll be exciting to see. So this is a really strong lineup, 1 through 7. A little bit of question in right field and then some youth at second base, but boy, I really like this lineup. From a bench standpoint, yes, you'll have a backup catcher. That'll either be Knizer or Mitch Garver likely. You've got Luke Raley, who is versatile, first baseman outfielder, who can be a bench player for this team. Leo Rivas, an infielder, who batted 244 last year, 2 home runs, 6 stolen bases and limited action. I mentioned Rob Refsnyder. I really like that signing, who can come in, play outfield, can play first base. Had a really good OPS, 830 some last year. So a decent bench, definitely a decent bench. And again, I just like this Mariners lineup. Now, let me go to what I think is actually the strength of this team. Believe it or not, even after I go through that lineup, I think the strength of the team is still starting pitching. You've got Brian Wu, who absolutely broke out last year, 2.94 ERA. Started 30 games, 186 and 2/3 innings, only 137 hits, struck out 198 batters. If he's healthy, he's probably 200 plus strikeouts this year. Number 1 starter, top of the rotation. Love it. Okay. Logan Gilbert is also a top of the rotation arm. Gilbert is now, he'll be around 29 on opening day. By the way, Wu is, he'll be 26 on opening day. But Logan Gilbert could be a number 1 starter for most teams. Last year, battled a little bit of injury, started 25 games, 131 innings, just 104 hits and 173 strikeouts, pitched to a 3.44 ERA. Boy, you've got to love that. Those are 2 really strong 1-2 top of the rotation pitchers. And then you have the veteran, 33-year-old Luis Castillo. 180 and 2/3 innings last year, 168 hits, 162 strikeouts, pitched to a 3.54 ERA, 32 games started, Mr. Reliable. That is a really strong third starter. And why is he a third starter? Well, he's a third starter because George Kirby battled some injury last year and wasn't what we thought George Kirby would be. If George Kirby is healthy this year, George Kirby could be a number 1 or number 2 starter for any team. Kirby, 126 innings, 121 hits last year, 137 strikeouts, pitched to a 4.21 ERA across 23 games that he started. Again, he was the 20th pick overall back in 2019 for the Mariners. Does have 3.151 years of service. He's got a lot of team control left, but, George Kirby, a really good arm. And then Bryce Miller, who has shown flashes of being a really good starter, again, has battled some injury issues, but Bryce Miller will be the number 5 starter. His ERA was 5.68 last year, but he wasn't healthy. 90 to third innings, 93 hits, 74 strikeouts. If Bryce Miller is healthy, I would argue that he will give up less than a hit an inning and strike out more than a batter an inning and pitch potentially sub-4 ERA. So that is a really good starting group for the Mariners. Now let's talk about their bullpen. Their bullpen, really strong closer in Andres Munoz. Munoz, really good year last year, 173 ERA, 62 in the third innings, just 36 hits and 83 strikeouts. Really awesome year for Munoz last year. And, again, a lot to like there from Munoz. From a setup standpoint, Matt Brash is one of your setup guys. 47 in the third innings last year, 41 hits and 58 strikeouts. Pitched to a 2.47 ERA. That was across. Don't have the number of games that was across, but did pick up 4 saves along the way. Again, really strong setup guy. I mentioned Jose Ferrer before, the trade that brought him over. The Mariners love this guy. They have him slated to be a setup guy. 4.48 ERA last year, 76 in the third innings, 81 hits, 71 strikeouts. They think they can harness something there, and they're all in on Ferrer. Middle relief, you got Edward Bizardo, 2.52 ERA last year, 78 and 2/3 innings, just 53 hits, 82 strikeouts. That is a strong middle relief performance, 2.52 ERA. Gabe Spear, 2.61 ERA, 62 innings, 43 hits, 82 strikeouts. So these first 2 guys that went over in middle relief, super, super strong numbers. You've got Carlos Vargas in a setup role, or in a middle relief role, I should say. 3.97 ERA, 77 innings, 81 hits, and 54 strikeouts. Vargas has started in the past. He's 26 years old. I think he's going to fall more into that middle relief, maybe even long relief role. But Vargas, a middle reliever on this team. Casey Legumina is also in middle relief. He had a 5.62 ERA across 49 and 2/3 innings, did only give up 47 hits and struck out 55. See what he can do in middle relief. And then long relief, the Mariners made that trade for Cooper Criswell. Criswell, limited action last year for the Mets, 17 and 2/3 innings, pitched to a 3.57 ERA. So I think there's a lot of strength in the back end of the bullpen. Munoz, Brash, maybe Ferrer, Bizardo strong, Spears strong. A little bit of question marks beyond that, but if I say that the bullpen is the weakness of this team, that is telling, because this bullpen is still really, really good. All right, so what about the farm system? How do the Mariners look when it comes to their minor league farm system? They're ranked, over the years. They were second in 2021, first in 2022. Some of those guys graduated. They moved to 22nd in 23, 16th in 24, 5th in 25, graduated a couple other players, and now they stand 10th, a really strong farm system. And, they have one of the most impressive top 10s. If you look at their top 10 prospects, it's headlined by a couple guys we're going to talk about. And, there are a couple players who could make an impact here on the Mariners sooner than later. So I want to start with their top prospect, the number 7 prospect in baseball. I mentioned it earlier. This could be a guy that ultimately replaces J.P. Crawford at shortstop, and that is Cole Emerson. Emerson, 20 years old, 6 foot, 185 pounds. He was drafted in 2023, 22nd overall pick by the Mariners. This guy's a mature, advanced hitter, made his pro debut in 2023, reached low A ball that year. In 24, he played at all three levels, batted .263, got on base at a .393 clip, slugged .376, walked 50 times, struck out 58 times. This guy's got a really good eye. He missed 70 games due to a foot fracture, which is, that stinks, but he's healthy now, fully healthy in 2025, and across 124 games in 2025 between high A and double A, he batted .281, got on base at a .380 clip, slugged .466. He hit 14 home runs. He, in very limited action at AAA, went 8 for 22 with 2 home runs. So this guy is coming on. He's ready. I think he's ready. He might need a little more time in the minors, maybe AAA, to start the year. But, look, he's got this really well-balanced left-handed swing. Again, a mature approach at the plate. Hits line drives to all fields. The Mariners have, had this strategy of drafting high-contact high school bats, working with them. His power's coming along. In 25, he slugged 16 home runs, 90th percentile exit velocity, increased 2% from 2024. He's not a 30, 40 home run guy. He's probably 15 to 20 homers, but they'll take that if he can get on base at a good clip. His 846 OPS was about the same, righties versus lefties. 17.5% strikeout rate was about where he was in 2024. Could become an above average defender because he's got strong instincts. Again, shortstop is where he likely will play. I mentioned he could start at AAA. It might be AA. The Mariners aren't going to rush this guy, but I do think he has a chance of hitting the big leagues this year, just seeing how things happen during the year. So a lot to like there. Again, another guy that the Mariners just drafted, a really good farm system. Their number 2 prospect, 25th overall in baseball, is Cade Anderson. He's a left-handed pitcher, 21 years old, 6'2", 175 pounds. Comes out of LSU, so you know he's got a good pedigree. His high school career, he had Tommy John surgery at a very young age, and then joined LSU, spent time in the bullpen, spent time starting as a freshman, broke out in 2025, 180 strikeouts, led all Division I pitchers, was named the most outstanding player in the College World Series. Mariners drafted him 3rd overall, and, look, just an electric arm. He's got this strong lower half, smooth delivery, compact arm action, delivers his pitches from kind of a high 3/4 slot. Mid-80 slider is a key pitch that he deploys. He's got a 30% whiff rate on it. Features a high spin, upper 70s curveball. It's got some depth. He's got a mid-80s changeup that's really effective against right-handed hitters. He's an above-average strike thrower. He's got good feel for 4 pitches. The only concern that you have with a guy like this is his prior elbow surgery. And he's 6'2", 175 pounds, not this big stalking figure. So how will that play over time? That would be the only concern. He's going to be a really good starter in this league. He's going to throw strikes. He's going to really good stuff. Number 2, number 3 starter likely. Could reach Seattle this year. Again, has to stay healthy. But, if some of their starting pitching doesn't work out, or if they need help in long relief, I wouldn't be shocked to see Cade Anderson in Seattle by the end of the year. The Mariners' number 3 prospect, and I told you they've got a really strong top 10 overall. Their number 3 prospect is number 58 overall in baseball. That's outfielder Lizardo Montes. He is 21 years old, 6'3", 210 pounds. He signed out of Cuba back in 2022 for $2.5 million. Interestingly, he was trained by Yordan Alvarez's hitting instructor, and kind of has drawn comparisons to him, which would be incredible. 2024, he batted .288, 397 on base percentage, 484 slugging percentage, 21 home runs across low A and high A ball. 2025 hit 32 home runs, which was the 3rd most in minor league baseball. His average did drop from 268 at high A ball to 213 in double A. Something to watch. He does strike out a lot. He's got this elite raw power, 90th highest 90th percentile exit velocity of any Mariner in 2025. Very aggressive approach to the plate, swings and misses. That's his big issue. He could be a low average, high power guy. But he does have good plate discipline. He walked 14.2% of the times, not elite, but he is looking at pitches, has a really good arm, but not a great overall defender in right field. They want to improve his overall defense, his route running for 2020. He will likely start the year in double A, work on some of that defense, work on that batting average. He will likely be a corner outfielder and a power bat in this Mariners lineup. Again, he's 21 years old, still has some development. From a scouting grade standpoint, he rates as a 70 in power, but a 40 in fielding. So again, more to come on him. Some development still needed there. And then the only other guy I want to look at from a prospect standpoint is Ryan Sloan. He's the Mariners' fourth best prospect, 60th in baseball, 19-year-old. He's 6'5", 220 pounds as a 19-year-old, so he could still develop further. They paid a significant amount of money, went over slot in the draft to get this guy, paid him a $3 million signing bonus to get him in the second round of 24. Made his pro debut in 25, posted a 3.73 ERA with 90 strikeouts and just 15 walks in 82 innings at low A Modesto. Made 3 starts at high A ball, and then, had to have eye surgery that ended his season. Fully recovered from that. He was a high upside high schooler when they signed him to that overslot value of $3 million. 6'5", 220. He's really good starting pitcher frame. He's got a polished arsenal for being a 19-year-old. 3+ pitches in his arsenal. He throws from a 3/4 arm slot, mid-90s fastball that's touched 98 miles an hour. And again, he's only 19 years old. Sharp late breaking sweeper that has a 46% swing and miss rate, fading low 90s changeup. Between the sweeper and changeup, he's got 2 really good put away pitches, and he's got a cutter that works in the upper 80s. So really good pitch arsenal. He will likely start the year in high A in 26, should reach double A by the end of the season. He's got a chance to be a front of the rotation pitcher, number 1, number 2 starter. So again, this is a really good farm system, and you like what they have at the top of that farm system. They also were really aggressive in the international market. They signed 3 top 50 guys this January out of the international ranks. They got the 12th best prospect, Juan Rijo, signed him for $2.15 million out of the Dominican Republic. He's an outfielder, 6'1", 188 pounds. He's a left-handed hitter, just 17 years old. Gregory Payo was their number 32 prospect of this international class. They signed him for $3 million. He's an outfielder, also out of the Dominican, 17 years old, just 5'11", 170 pounds, a right-handed batter, but really good prospect. And then Leonardo Reynoso is the number 48 prospect of this class. They signed him for $775,000. He's a shortstop, also out of the Dominican, 17 years old. He's 5'10", 170 pounds. So again, this is a Mariners team that focuses on the here and now, but does not want to let that minor league system get away from them. They're active in the international side, and they're not willing to spend money on high-end players in the draft. All right, so I expect this Mariners team to be a 90-plus win team. Let's say things don't go well, or let's say they want to add some minor league depth through trades. Who do they have? And it's not a lot. Players that I would deem trade assets. Again, I don't expect this team to fall out of the race. If they did, you could definitely move a guy like J.P. Crawford. J.P. Crawford's a free agent after this season. He makes $12 million this year. You've got Colt Emerson, who's coming in, that's going to play shortstop every day. Crawford would be expendable. Again, if the team fell out of contention or if they wanted to package him with somebody to add something at the trade deadline. Rob Refsnyder's another guy. I like him. He'll be a bench guy, but making $6.25 million this year. He's a free agent after this year. So he could be movable. If they do fall out of the race for some strange reason, Andres Munoz is their closer. He's making $6 million this year. There is an $8 million club option in 27 and a $10 million club option in 28. He could be movable. Victor Robles could be movable. I don't know if anyone would want him, but 26, he's making $5.125 million, and then there's a $9 million club option for 27. And then the other guy that's interesting is Randy Arozarena. He's making $15.65 million this year. He is a free agent after this season. Arozarena is a guy that even if they don't fall out of contention, if they wanted to bring up somebody to bat in the outfield, if Arozarena is not cutting it, they could move him. On the other hand, if Arozarena is killing the ball, but this team is not playing well, he could absolutely garner something in return. So again, I don't expect that. I don't expect them to be sellers at the trade deadline. This team's going to be really, really good. In fact, when I look at my pyramid, this could easily be a second-tier team. Honestly, this could be a World Series contender. This could be a first-tier team. I've got to really think about that as I go through these teams, but this is a very, very good Mariners team that is going to be very competitive and just very good in 2026. All right, folks, that's it for today. Again, Cubs, Mariners. This was probably my most fun podcast previewing the upcoming season in these two teams. Love these two teams. Could it be a Cubs-Mariners World Series? It could be. Honestly, it could be. We have a lot more to come. I'm doing a lot of these recordings and then kind of spacing out when they go live, but excited to keep learning as I go through this, and so excited about the start of the season. Spring training games are happening. We've got the World Baseball Classic. Exciting times in baseball. Don't forget, if you're watching this or if you're listening to it, please subscribe. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, your local, whatever you're using to listen to podcasts. You'll find me there. YouTube, subscribe. I would really, really appreciate those subscriptions. And if you like these podcasts, make sure you click the like button, give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in following me on social media, please do so at Tell Us Ellis HQ. That's on X, that's on Instagram. And then if you have questions, want to join the show, want to talk baseball, want to talk wrestling, whatever you want to talk about, sports, entertainment, pop culture, let me know. Just email me, jamie@tellusellis.com. Appreciate you, and I will talk to you soon.